The Premier League is back, you beautiful baby birds, and we're here to feed you.
Redo it again, huh?
Yeah.
We're back. Premier League back. First game of the Premier League season 2023-2024. Manchester City versus Burnley.
Former champions. On the road.
Yeah. 3-0. Absolute, not going to say battering, but 3-0 on the first day is a pretty close to battering.
Pretty simple game, honestly. I mean, Burnley are obviously newly promoted, so we weren't expecting a whole lot. But we did see some glimpses of some positive play, some real good chances towards the beginning of the game.
I think Burnley is definitely not going to go down. I don't think Burnley is a team. You can see the fight they put up. You can see how well they played in the championship under Vincent Kompany. I think that's going to carry over, especially with how weak the Premier League is this year.
Especially at the bottom.
It seems like a pretty weak, 10 and below. It's. I think Burnley will be okay in the end, for sure.
I hate to say it, but they're a very well-coached team. They do. I mean, obviously, we're saying all this, and they lost 3-0. But, it's City. Almost everyone comes up against them and loses in a similar scoreline. So it's not surprising.
Yeah. More positive for City. 3-0, though. Erling Haaland, 2 goals. Back to where he left off.
First player to ever score the first 2 goals of a Premier League season. Pretty crazy.
He is goated. Absolutely goated. Rodri, a goal and an assist. Absolute mad lad. Best CDM in the world. It's just a perfect Premier League start for Manchester City.
Second game of the weekend. Unfortunately, we had to watch Liverpool play. We're always rooting against them. Chelsea, don't love them, but kind of want to draw out of this one personally. Yeah. Keep that points tally low. Start the season off a little weird for both teams, and that's pretty much exactly what we saw.
Thankfully, that is what we got, was a 1-1. I think it was a fairly even match overall. Starting out, Liverpool definitely better. You could see later on Chelsea getting more into the game. And then Liverpool, they're missing that Cancelo that they missed out on. They're missing the holding midfielder. And I think if they had that, they would have won that game for sure. You could see McAllister doing a good job. Szoboszlai full of energy. Trent kind of sliding into midfield a little bit for them. You can see that a lot.
Kind of a necessity there, honestly. Because that midfield for both teams, but especially Liverpool at points, was just gap city. I mean, Enzo and Gallagher did a better job than I would say McAllister and Szoboszlai. But
toward the end.
Yeah, neither of them really did well. But, McAllister and Szoboszlai, they don't have much defensive acumen to them. McAllister, if you want to play him as a deep-lying playmaker, okay, that's like an Eriksen type role, but that's not going to make up for having a gap at the back. I mean, he's just not going to be able to do that.
Liverpool, I think they'll be okay this season. I think they'll probably get top 3, if not second, to be honest, just depending on if they can get off to a good start. I think that's the biggest thing for them. If they can get off to a good start, they'll be fine for the rest of the year.
I disagree.
I really think so.
Disagree.
Chelsea, though, they're okay. When they get Cancelo in, though, man.
It's Caicedo.
Caicedo, whatever. They are going to be rock solid at the back. Their cohesiveness, their defensive unit, if Thiago Silva stays healthy, if their center backs stay healthy, if they don't get any more injured, they're going to be solid at the back. I think their biggest problem is going to be scoring goals.
And that's exactly what I was about to say. That's the constant theme for this Chelsea team for a little bit. They did win a European Cup, but both players that scored an assist, that decisive goal, are gone.
Yeah.
Not to really any fault of their own pretty much, but Chelsea is at a point where they have to have some kind of attacking output from the billion-dollar squad that they have.
Yeah.
It's put up or shut up time for them. They have to get top 4 for this to be a good season with the amount of money. I mean, they minimum have to do well in the Premier League, push for Europe, or else it could be a tough season for Pochettino.
Other big games of the Premier League, we saw Newcastle 5-1 over Villa. Absolute thrashing. Newcastle, a team who have got these new owners, all this money. They haven't spent crazy amount of money, not as much as you'd expect with what was reported as how rich their owners were and such things.
I mean, 70 million on
They're
Tonali's not
70 million on
cheap.
Tonali. No, but I mean, it's not. But look at the overall. You know, they haven't spent crazy amount of money. They have a really good squad, a really good coach. They are really exciting to watch. Villa, we have high hopes. We all think Villa are going to do so good this year, and I think they're going to get top 7. I could see it. Top 8. I could see it. I don't see them being this like new 5th place, 4th place, possible Champions League like some people think with Unai Emery at the helm. But I just think Newcastle were just on their day. Isak insane, Bruno Tonali insane. Like, it was just a really good performance.
And plus, it's a tough game when your whole midfield is just kind of jogging at that point. I mean, especially towards the end, you know, everybody's, you know, feeling leggy. It's the first game of the week, or I'm sorry, first game of the year. But, you know, Yuri Tillman's still the same guy, the exact same guy that we saw at Leicester. He does not track back. He does not sprint. And it's got to be, you know, he signed on a free, so there's no fee there, so there's not, you know, the greatest expectation. But he's supposed to be somebody that can come into that team and really help create and help in every aspect of the game, and we really didn't see that from anybody there. You know, you love it, and I hate it. Your weekly segment of how does United ruin Trevin's week this week? But they didn't exactly ruin it till today. We'll get into that in a minute. But on Monday, we saw United play Wolves, and man, was that tough. It was really, really back and forth. It was way too open-ended of a game for my liking. I think that one of the good things that we did have last year, other than the 6-goal given up and the 7-goal given up, we did have a pretty good set defensive structure. And I don't think that they're 100% used to playing this way that Ten Hag's putting in at this point with Onana. The line is different. You can play a higher line because he can pass better, but then that leaves your midfield a little bit open. Plus, Mount just absolutely gets forward. Bruno's forward. It's just too much open space. Casemiro was a pedestrian in midfield for the simple fact that he had no one around him. He was chasing shadows because nobody was helping. I mean, Mount, yes, he sprints back and he tries eventually when he gets there, but when you have Cunha going through that midfield, God, is he so good on the ball, man. He just glides right through the team in the middle of the field, and nobody picks him up. And it was a tough day, but Champions League for wrong.
Absolutely blasphemous day. Onana, absolute joke of a goalkeeper. Man, should have gotten a penalty. Wolves
Never
overall,
a pen. How many times have we've seen so
he
many
was definitely a penalty,
challenges
Trevin.
just
He's
like that?
running out and doesn't even get near the ball.
If that's is that a foul out in the field of play? Yes. But is it a foul in the box when it comes to the Premier League standards? It's not. We've seen plenty of other cases where the foul...
that wasn't a penalty. You're absolutely
It wasn't
insane.
because the way that those have been called, it's not a penalty.
It was definitely a penalty. No. He went out there and punched that player.
No,
basically.
they
if it was an outfield player
he did not
and
punch
that
him.
happened,
it did. How many? It literally happened last year.
Okay.
No media.
Onana's a muppet. Look, United. It's Wolves. Come on. Disappointing game. The midfield. Where was the cohesiveness? The manager needs to get that together. Okay? Casemiro can't be back there doing it all on his own in the midfield, right? Bruno Fernandes needs to show that work rate. Okay? Mason Mount needs to show his work rate. And yes, they're brilliant going forward. But you can't leave Casemiro back there all by himself. Yes, it's Wolves, and you think you should be owning the ball and doing all this and that. But Wolves are a well-structured team. And one man can't defend a whole midfield, no matter who it is. Truly. So that's what it comes down to. It was a disappointing performance from United. I think they should have given a penalty to Wolves. I think it was a very disappointing day for United.
Honestly, this was a tough day at the office for everyone involved, but I couldn't help but feel, exiting this game, that this is the type of game that champions bring out of the dirt. We took this game out. A 1-0 grind
against Wolves.
Yes.
That is what champions do.
You're damn right.
Moving on the game today, the Super Cup, Manchester City. Oh my gosh, we finally won on penalties. How about that? But into the game itself, Cole Palmer, the Wonder Boy, off to a wonderful start to the season. I hope this isn't a case of he has a brilliant first 4 or 5 weeks, 6 weeks, and then he falls off. No, I know it's only been like a week or two, and he had a good preseason. It's been like he had a goal last week. Don't be hating on Cole Palmer. All right,
good 10 days.
So it's good to see. Overall, you could see something missing though. De Bruyne out, Diaz out, Bernardo out. We were lacking some creativity. I expected a little bit more from Phil Foden. I expected a little bit more from Jack Grealish too. I thought those two should have had more of impact on the game in terms of creativity. I was also disappointed in Pep because he had a Kanji playing the Stones role, and one, I was a little bit skeptical of Stones doing it, and then Stones goes in there and does a brilliant job. We have Akanji going in there. Akanji is not John Stones, okay? We can't keep throwing center backs up.
Who would have ever thought
midfield.
that was a sentence?
We can't keep having center backs thrown up in the midfield and as a number 10 next to Phil Foden. That's absolutely insane. Okay, I can understand him going in there, helping out Rodri, pushing forward a little bit more than the other center backs. But Akanji is not a number 10, Pep. Like, why is he all the way that far forward when you could have a more creative attacking player in that position, somebody we have on our bench? Like, you could have had Rico Lewis in there, who's a little bit more versatile in that position. Why you started Akanji there, I don't know. Very interesting.
It's always those weird little tinkers with that guy. I mean, he just likes to throw in a little bit of extra there to throw people off.
Sevilla, a decent game by them. Their striker, El Nesiri, whatever his name is.
Nesiri, yeah.
He should have scored more than he scored one. He should have had more. He was
big chance
good, but he was really actually overall probably not very good. He had a goal, but he missed 2 or 3 chances that you could argue he probably should have put away. And Sevilla could have won that game. I think Sevilla definitely had the better chances purely because of where he was at in the box and taking on those chances and just didn't put them away. But City held on to the ball, do their usual thing, trying to get it in there. We lacked a little bit of that creativity today, though, so it was a little disappointing to see.
It's got to be a big year for Foden, I think. Speaking of that creativity, I think this year he really has to set his mark. Like, he really has to get off to not only a good start, but he has to, do well and be an integral part of this team. Or he could slowly start to find himself down that pecking order even more than he already is.
I think he'll sprout. That's just the fan in me of Phil Foden. I hope he does.
I mean, there's definitely
Cole
great
Palmer stays
moments.
and if McAtee goes on loan somewhere or whatever, it is what it is. I hope Cole stays. I like seeing the academy players stay. I'm not saying Phil's leaving because he's definitely not, but to see him drop down, like you're saying, he could drop down, and because we're gonna have depth, especially if we go get Paqueta, especially if we go get Doku. We're gonna have some depth. When De Bruyne comes back, Bernardo will be back. He was just sick today, so it was interesting. But today, when on penalties, the 5th penalty taker for Sevilla hits the bar, skyrockets it away. Ederson couldn't save it, had no chance. I don't know. I'm not sure with Ederson with penalties. It is what it is, though. I think he's still a good goalkeeper. We won 5-4 on penalties, though, against Sevilla in the Super Cup. That's another trophy in the bag, going for 6 this year. We'll be back next week with the Premier League to let you know what happened then, huh? See if United can do better than 1-0.
Fucker.